Welcome to case study number 4. So we're going to continue on with our Carly's Catering case study. So let's see what chapter 4 is going to look like. So for Carly's Catering, we're doing number 1 still. So we're going to do 2 different things. We're going to do step A and then we're going to do step B down here. So Carly's Catering provides meals for parties and special events. In chapter 3, you created an event class for the company. The event class contains 2 fields that hold prices per guest and the cutoff value for a large event, and 3 private fields that hold an event number, number of guests for the event, and the price. It also contains 2 public set and 3 public get methods. Now, we want to modify the event class to contain 2 overloaded constructors. One constructor is going to accept an event number and a number of guests as its parameter. Pass these values to set event number and set guest methods respectively. The set guest method will automatically calculate the event price. The other constructor is going to be the default constructor, and that's going to pass the A000 and the 0 to the 2 parameter constructor. Okay, so let's get our IDE open and ready to go. We've got Carly's Catering. We're going to work on this event.java that we started last time. So actually, I'm going to change this to say 4A. If you want to save both versions of this, go ahead and do like a save as and do like event 3A, and then you can save the previous version. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to use the one that we had. So what we're doing is we're going to create new constructors. Okay, so the first one says one constructor accepts an event number and a number of guests as a parameter. So we want to put the constructors at the top of the code after we go through all of the variables. So we can say constructors, and then I'm actually going to add this and say methods. There. Okay, that's going to help separate where everything is in the code. So the first one is going to be a public constructor. It's going to be a constructor, so it has to have the same name as the class. So it's going to be event with a capital E. You're going to have the open and close parentheses to put your parameters inside. Now, it says that you want the event number and number of guests. So your event number is a string, and number of guests is an int. Okay. Now it's a constructor, so we don't put the semicolon, but we're going to have our curly brackets here. Okay. Now we could do a few different things. We could just go ahead and set those variables here, but our instructions are actually telling us to use the set event number and set guests methods. Okay, set guests to, there we go. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it in this constructor. Okay, now like I said, you can go ahead and set those variables, but this is how we're being asked to do it. So in set event number, it's going to want the string, so we're going to pass it the num that is being brought in through the parameter. And set guests is going to be that int, and I need to go inside my parentheses, and you're going to send it guests. Okay, that's all you have to do for that constructor. Okay, now the second constructor that it's asking for is a default constructor. So a default constructor is still going to be public. It's going to say event, and we're going to have an open close parenthesis with nothing in it. Remember, default means no parameters. We have to go ahead and explicitly put this because it no longer is automatically generated. Okay, now for this, what you want to do is it's going to pass A000 and 0 to the 2 parameter constructor. Okay, if you remember, if we want to use constructors within the same class, we use that special word this. Okay, so we're going to say this, we're going to put our open close parentheses, and we're going to say A000, quote, comma, and a 0. And don't forget your semicolon at the end. That's very, very important. Okay? That's all part A is asking for, is there's additional constructors to be added right there. Okay, let's go on to part B and let's see. Actually, I'm going to save. I'm going to go ahead and run it. Number of guests, 5. A0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, A1, 2, 5 with 5 members. Perfect. Okay, let's bring the book back. Let's go down to part B. So now we want to use event demo right here. In chapter 3, you also created an event demo class to demonstrate using 2 event objects. Now we want to modify that class to instantiate 2 event objects and include the following new methods in the class. Instantiate 1 object to retain the constructor default values, okay? And then 2, accept user data for the event number and guests field. And use this data set to instantiate the second object. Display all the details for everybody. Okay, awesome. Let's go back to our code. Okay, so we're going to start with event demo. Again, I'm going to change this to say 4B because we're updating it with 4B. So the first thing it wants us to do is modify the class to instantiate 2 event objects. Okay, so up here, we're going to want 2. So event, we'll say event 1 equals new event. Okay. Then what we want to do is we want to use the same, and we're going to move, let's see, event 1. Okay. Guests equals number of guests. And get event number. Okay. Event 2, I'm going to copy in the same way we did here. Right here. Okay, I'm going to call it event 2. Okay. Now on event, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. Because I want to put them there. So event 1 is just a new event with no, it's going to use the default constructor, no parameters being passed. See, event with just the empty and close parentheses. Okay, then we're going to say event number, get event number, guests equals get guests. And let's create this second one with the event number and guests. How's that? Okay. Now, I don't want that one, I don't believe anymore. Let's comment out some of the stuff we don't want. So, display details event, display details event 2. Because it said display everything from everybody. Okay, so we have instantiated 1 object to retain the constructor default, which is event 1. Then we go on to event 2, which is going to get the user data for event. Okay, then we're going to print out 1 and 2. Actually, we can go ahead and display them on. Why not? Okay, because we use the constructor, we don't actually need to set those anymore. We're using the constructor to do the actual set. Okay, let's hit a save button. Let's hit compile and let's see what happens. So number of guests, let's say 10. And event number was going to be B123. Okay, because remember, the default is going to give it 0 and an A number. So let's give it 10 and a B number. Let's see what happens. So event, there's your first one with your A00 with 0 people. Okay, that is that constructor default. This event is created using the user input. Now you can see how this modularity and the reusability of this code is very, very helpful because, you know, we didn't have to retype in the get event number. We didn't have to retype in any of the information for get guests. We were just able to use what was already there. Okay, so you can see how that is actually going to help going forward. But really, that's it for case study number 4. Make sure you turn in your event.java and your event demo.java for credit.